All right, good morning, guys. Today, we are doing my shameless plug for Operation Christmas Child. I get to do this monthly. It's great. This is our church's heart project, and I call it that because every year I see just how much of a heart for people we will never meet this church has, and I am so thankful for that. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be able to be the one to talk about the things that we do with OCC. With that being said, shameless plug. As always, the table is over there. You see that there is stuff that is already starting to pile up. That is never a bad thing. Please, if you have anything that you're seeing on sale that you're grabbing for OCC, feel free to bring it in. It will get organized and we'll be ready for when we pack boxes in November. We should have a lovely world map up there. That little green spot is the country of Mali. It is a West African country, and for adults, I can just say the word landlocked, and you know what that means, because it absolutely is. For the kids, Danny's already nodding. What's landlocked mean, Danny? Oh, he nodded, and now he can't tell me. Landlocked means, as you can see, there's no body of water that it's really touching. It has a couple of rivers, the first one being the Niger River, and I really hope that I pronounced that right, Heather, yes? Okay, good. My resident helper of all things African is Heather, so I'm very glad that she's here because I can nod in her direction and hope that I'm saying things correctly. So it is the one river that flows through the interior of the country, and it functions as its main trading and transport artery. The river does flood periodically. As we know of desert countries, that tends to be the way that they can get any kind of fertile ground to do their agriculture. It's also where they keep their livestock. And though it is one of the largest countries in Africa, it has a relatively small population which centers mostly around that river. And the Bambara ethnic culture is the predominant language. However, their official language is French because at one time they were a French colony. Also, this is one of the reasons why every year I'm so insistent, I guess. I kind of beat the school supply always. Mali is a country where they have compulsory education from the ages 6 to 12. However, most children are not enrolled in school at all because while the schooling is free, school uniforms and school supplies are not, and most parents cannot afford to buy school uniforms and school supplies for their children, so they do not enroll them in school because they cannot afford to actually send them. Gabe, if you can go to the next slide, we're going to talk about Mali's climate. It lies within an intertropical zone and has a hot, dry climate. The sun is near its zenith for most of the year. There are two seasons, the dry and wet. Dry season is usually from November to June. It's marked by low humidity and high temperatures. And then from November to January, we have relatively cool spells. And by cool, I mean it sits around 77 degrees. From March to June, a dry, hot wind blows out of the East Sahara. If you look at that map up there, you'll see that nice big red zone, which correlates with that nice big dry, arid zone on the other side. That's all Sahara Desert. Temperatures can reach about 104 to 113 degrees. Just in case anyone's thinking of visiting, it's going to be a little warm in that particular area. During the rainy season, a monsoon wind blows from the southwest, which usually brings in large clouds and heavy rainstorms, and sometimes the temperature can be a little bit lower. They have three different climate ranges. One ranges from they usually get about 20 to 55 inches of rain in that area. That would be that nice green area, and I think it's blue. Yes, in blue. Get about 15 or 20 to 55 inches of rain, and the average temperatures stay at about 75 to 86. The next section up gets between 8 to 20 inches of rain a year and stays between 73 and 97 degrees. And in the desert area, the temperatures typically range from 117 to near 140 degrees. That's during the day, and if you think like, oh, I'd be nice and warm, for the record, at night it drops down to between 39 to 41 degrees. So you go from extreme hot to your teeth would be chattering. The notion of ethnicity is fairly fluid in Mali. They marry typically outside of their ethnicity, but either don't switch what they consider themselves or they do. It's very fluid. They don't really hold too much to that. And there are 3 main religions. Anyone want to take a guess? Islam is the main one, more than 9/10 of the population. Then they have their traditional religions, which are usually the tribes, and then the rest is about 3% of the culture professes Christianity. Their time of independence actually came in 1960 when they were finally no longer considered a colony by France. Since then, they have had at least 4 major conflicts within the country. It's a pretty war-torn area. The most recent happened in 2020. So if you think about it, be praying for the country of Mali. And just because I got to give you guys fast facts in case kids not going to school sounded good to you, here's some comparisons between the US and Mali. If you lived in Mali instead of the US, you would be 77% less likely to be obese. However, you'd be about 80% more likely to not live to 80 years old. You would make 97% less money, and there'd be an 80% chance that you were unemployed. You would be 2.4 times more likely to live below the poverty line. And as you live below the poverty line, you'd be 3.4 times likely to have more children than you have already. Ladies and young adult women, you would be 30% more likely to die during childbirth. And kids, you would be 12.1 times more likely to not make it out of infancy. And, just in case all of that didn't sway you, you would be 65% less likely to have access to electricity. Now, kids, I just want to know, Gabe, let's go to the next slide. This is probably my favorite fact, because as a kid, my mother used to threaten to send me to Timbuktu all the time, and I thought she was kidding. Timbuktu is in Mali. And that picture up in the corner there is their common form of buildings, which is like a mud brick that has sticks and the like in there to give it some structural soundness, but that's what it looks like most of the time. And Gabe, if you go to the next slide, just so you know, kids, that's what the city of Timbuktu looks like. It used to be part of the gold trade. It was a very famous city at one point. It is starting to lose its fame because of wars and all of that, terrible stuff that goes on in war-torn countries. But if your mom and dad ever threaten to send you to Timbuktu, that's where you're going, that's how it looks. Get a sense of the map so you don't get lost. All right, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you.